Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into a fun and creative session where I'll be making 5 clean and simple cards using the beautiful rub-on transfers from the Simons-Stamp June 2025 Captured Joy card kit. I've only used rub-ons once before, so I was genuinely excited to play with them again, and I'm thrilled with how these card fronts turned out. To really let the rub-ons shine, I kept the designs minimal, no added sparkle, splatters, or textures. Just a few sentiment strips to finish them off. I hope you enjoy the process and find some inspiration for your own projects. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate if you could take a moment to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Let us first take a closer look at the Simple Stories Vintage Flower Shop Rub-On Transfers. This set includes 2 gorgeous botanical themed sheets, each measuring 6 by 8 inches. The designs feature a mix of vibrant floral elements, playful sentiments in various sizes, and a lovely color palette of cheerful colors. The pack also includes an ice cream stick, which can be used to transfer the design onto your card panels. For today's project, I have pre-cut a few white panels measuring 3 3/4 by 5 inches, which is slightly smaller than my usual 4 by 5 1/4 inch. This allows for a wider colored border around the design. I'll be pairing these panels with some beautiful colored cardstock bases to really make the rub-ons pop. Apart from these rub-ons, I will be adding some sentiments on my card fronts. For the sentiments, I'll be using the modern scrapbook stamp and die set combo that was also included in the June card kit. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out my previous video where I did a full unboxing of the June card kit. I've listed all the links to the products featured in that video, and I will also leave a link to the video in the description box below for easy access. Let's start with our projects. Well, I'm starting by taking both the rub-ons sheets out of the packaging so we can admire that gorgeous floral designs up close. These rub-ons work much like sticker. You can apply them directly onto your card panels or any other surface. They'd be perfect not just for card making but also for decorating frames or creating dimensional shadow boxes. The images are printed on nearly transparent backing sheets. I will begin by trimming out the designs I want to use for my cards. You don't need to worry about cutting them perfectly, just a quick trim with your scissors will do. The borders won't show in the final result, so all you'll see is that beautiful image seamlessly transferred onto your card panel. For card number 1, I have chosen to work with this gorgeous floral bouquet image placed inside a rustic bucket. There's something so charming about it. It immediately brings to mind a quaint little countryside flower shop filled with freshly plucked blooms and vintage decor. The illustration is so rich in detail and color that it easily becomes the centerpiece of our card. In addition to the main bouquet, I also trimmed out a few smaller flowers that were printed alongside the bucket. I will be carefully separating these from the main image and layering them to add extra dimension and depth to our focal point. That's one of the features I absolutely love about these rub-on transfer sheets, that you are not limited to using the designs as is. You can easily cut, rearrange, and layer multiple images to create a completely custom focal point. This flexibility allows you to get really creative with your compositions and gives each project a unique handcrafted look. Although the pack includes an ice cream stick to help transfer the images, I personally find that using a bone folder gives much more better control and a cleaner finish. I like to apply firm, even pressure with the bone folder, making sure every part of the image adheres fully and smoothly to the cardstock. This helps avoid any missed spots or lifting edges and ensures that the transferred image looks as crisp and seamless as possible. I have to be honest with you guys, when I first sat down to create, I really wasn't planning on making 5 cards. My original intention was to just make one, test out the rub-on transfers again, and see how it goes. But the moment I completed that first card, I saw how beautifully the focal point image came together and I was completely inspired. The ease of using the rub-ons and the vibrant colors and all those elegant details were just too good to stop at one card. That first design sparked a wave of ideas, and before I knew it, I was reaching for more panels and creating a whole set of cards. For my second card, I picked this sweet little camera image from the transfer sheet. It's surrounded by a lovely floral accent that gives it such a cheerful, memory keeping vibe, perfect for sending to a friend or a loved one. To add just a touch of contrast and a bit of color pop, I decided to incorporate one of those sentiment rub-ons. I carefully cut it out and transferred it just beneath the image. I was honestly amazed by how seamlessly the sentiment blended into the design. It looked completely cohesive, like it was part of the original artwork. That's one of the things I really love about these rub-ons. Once applied, they sit so smoothly on paper that they truly look like printed elements. Here's a fun little idea too. If you're looking to add more interest, try transferring the sentiments onto different colored cardstock pieces. You can create your own custom sentiment strips that coordinate with the overall card design. It's a simple technique, but it adds a lot of personality and polish to your card projects. And just like that, I ended up creating three more cards. I honestly hadn't planned for it, but once I got started, the process became so enjoyable and creative, fulfilling that I didn't want it to stop. These rub-on transfers are not only easy to use but incredibly beautiful, and each image sparked new ideas as I went along. For card number three, I chose a charming image featuring a vintage style chair and a delicate water jug. There was something so peaceful and nostalgic about it. It reminded me of a quiet reading corner in a cozy, flower filled cottage. To add more depth and layered look, I combined several rub on elements around the main image. By layering different florals and subtle accents, I was able to enhance the overall vintage aesthetic and create a more dimensional focal point. I finished it off with a sentiment that brought just the right pop of color, tying everything together and giving the card a balanced and polished look. Moving on to cards 4 and 5, I decided to embrace a more minimal design approach. With so many intricate and detailed rub on images to choose from, I wanted to let a single bold element take center stage on each card. I carefully selected one large focal point image for each of those panels and left the rest of the design space clean and uncluttered. This approach really allowed the artwork to shine. The rich colors and the fine details of the transfers don't need much else. They carry the design effortlessly. It was such a joy to see how each card took its own personality, even with the simplest of the touches. Whether layered or minimal, these rub-ons added so much elegance and charm to every card, and I loved being able to explore different styles all within one cohesive set. Here's a look at all five card panels that we created. I absolutely love how they turned out. As mentioned earlier, the star of this project was definitely the beautiful rub-on transfer images. If I hadn't wanted to keep the focus on those stunning focal points, I might have added some splatters, embellishments, or even sequin mixes to bring out a little extra shine and sparkle. But keeping the designs clean really lets those gorgeous images take center stage. Now that our main card panels are finished, it's time to move on to adding the sentiments, an essential step that really ties the whole design together. For this, I'll be using the modern scrapbook stamp and die set. What I really love about this set is that how versatile it is. The coordinating dies aren't just designed to cut out the gorgeous focal images, but also perfectly cut out the sentiments. This makes layering and placement so much more easier and more precise, which is always a huge plus when you're working on clean and simple designs. Well, I plan on stamping a variety of sentiments from the set, including phrases like happy birthday, best day ever, I'm so glad we are friends, all of the happiest memories include you, and so on. To give these sentiments a bold and striking look, I'm stamping them onto a panel of rich black cardstock, which creates a beautiful contrast and really makes the white embossing powder pop. To get started, I carefully position the black cardstock panel onto my Altenew stamp platform, which helps me ensure perfect alignment and consistent stamping every time. I decided to heat emboss all of these sentiments in white for a crisp and polished finish. When it comes to white embossing, I prefer using the Simon's Stamp white pigment ink as my stamping base. In my experience, this ink works better with a white embossing powder than a clear watermark ink, resulting in a much sharper and more detailed image. The combination gives the sentiment a clean, professional look that really enhances the overall elegance of the card. This step really elevates the design by adding sentiment strips that complement the rub-on focal points, and I can't wait to show you how they come together in the final assembly. When it comes to heat embossing, I like to start by warming up my heat gun for about a minute or so before bringing it close to the paper. This helps ensure that the heat is evenly distributed once I begin melting the powder, which makes for a smoother and more consistent finish. While I was pouring the embossing powder onto the stamped image, I usually keep the heat gun running nearby in the background so it's ready to go as soon as I'm done. However, during this particular session, I noticed that some of the powder ended up sticking in areas where I didn't want it to. This usually happens when the anti-static powder isn't applied thoroughly across the entire panel, which was likely the case here. To clean this up, I like to use a very thin, soft paintbrush to gently sweep away any of that excess powder from the unwanted spots. This step is really important because it helps maintain that crisp professional look we are aiming for without any stray specks of powder on the final result. Once the excess powder is cleared, I carefully bring my heat tool to melt the powder. It's crucial to avoid holding the heat tool in one place for too long, as the concentrated heat can damage and warp the paper. Instead, I find it best to move the heat tool continuously and evenly across the surface. That steady movement will ensure that the embossing powder melts smoothly and thoroughly, creating a beautiful glossy finish that really makes the sentiment pop without any risk of burning or warping the paper. Next, I reached out for the coordinating dies to carefully cut out each of those stamped sentiments. Normally, I like to add dimension to my sentiment strips by either layering multiple die cuts together or using foam tape to raise them slightly off the card surface. This adds depth and visual interest, making the sentiments stand out. However, for this particular project, I chose to keep the sentiment strips flat and simple, sticking to just a single layer. As I mentioned earlier, my goal was to keep focus on those beautiful rub-on transfer images that serve as the main focal points for each of these cards. I didn't want anything to compete with or distant from those delicate detailed designs. Once all the sentiment strips were cut and ready, it was time to adhere them onto the card panels. I began by carefully positioning each of those sentiments, taking my time to arrange them exactly where I wanted to on the panels. This step is important because it allows you to make adjustments and find the perfect placements before committing to glue. Once I was happy with how everything looked and balance felt right, I used liquid glue to securely adhere each of those sentiment strips in place. The liquid glue gave me a bit of wiggle room to adjust if needed and ensured a strong bond for the final design. Once all the sentiment strips were firmly adhered in place, it's finally time to bring everything together by attaching the finished panels onto the card bases. Instead of sticking them onto the usual white cardstock for my bases, I wanted to add a little extra flair and personality by choosing some fun, vibrant colors that would complement with the hues in our rub-on focal point transfers. I selected a lovely color palette that included blue, brown, pink, green, and lavender. Each color carefully chosen because it matched so beautifully with the colors featured in the floral and vintage designs of the rub-ons. This subtle color coordination really helps tie the whole look of cards together and adds an extra touch of charm. To keep the cards feeling elegant and almost like a single layer design, I decided to adhere the panels onto the card bases using liquid glue. I didn't add any foam tape or extra layers uh, because I wanted the focus to remain on the rub-on transfer images and the sentiments without any distractions or added bulk. This technique keeps the cards lightweight and flat, making them easy to mail or gift while still offering a polished and finished look. And well, here's a look at the completed cards. I'm absolutely thrilled with how these turned out. The rub-on transfer sheets proved to be incredibly convenient and user-friendly, allowing me to create these detailed focal points without any mess of fuss. Honestly, I wasn't expecting on getting so inspired, but what began as a plan to make just a single card quickly turned into 5 unique designs. This makes for a perfect handmade card set, ideal for gifting to family, friend, or anyone special in your life who would appreciate a thoughtful and handcrafted card. Well, I am genuinely excited to experiment more with these rub-on transfers in the future projects because they add such a unique artistic touch without requiring complicated techniques or lots of supplies. This experience has definitely opened up a new avenue of creativity for me, and I hope it inspires you to try them out too. Well, unfortunately, the rub-on transfers I used for these card projects are currently out of stock on the simonsaysstamp website. However, I will be sure to include links to a few of my favorite alternatives that have similar floral style and vibe. You'll also find links to all the other projects I used in today's video listed down in the description box below. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.